Hi folks, this video is entitled, Does Progressive Media Really Work for the Other Side? I think I got a pretty strong case that they do actually work for the other side. And the reason why I'm saying is because of the way that they came out against Elizabeth Warren. That was all progressive media is doing. That's not the mainstream media. That's not any other media doing that than progressive media. They are the ones that took her not too long ago from a pretty normal senator, you know what I mean? And then they just start saying over and over and over and over and over how Elizabeth Warren is a liar. Now here's what they predicate her being a liar on. One is that because she said that she was she called herself ethnic because she was part American Indian. So she listed herself as ethnic. You're actually allowed to do that. See? To me, the mistake that she made when she went on for, political clout just to get it off her back, she went on, TV, and she, Trump was calling her Pocahontas, and she bid on that, she chomped on the bit, and so, she went on and she apologized and said that, she was not ethnic and blah, 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 blah. But really, if you got any American Indian in you, you're ethnic. So, really, it was true. So that's not a lie. And then, the next thing they tried to get her on, they said that she, said that Bernie Sanders told her in a conversation that he didn't think a woman could win the presidency in 2016. So, just a conversation between them two. Big fucking deal. So what? Like, that don't make her a liar. And he says he didn't say it. She says he did. She says she did say it. She says he didn't say it. She says he said it. So, that's just, so, big fucking deal. It ain't even no thing in the first goddamn place. Then they try to say that she backtracked on Medicare for all. Now she said 100,000 times that she was for Medicare for all. She never outlined a plan. Then all of a sudden she came out with her plan for it. She said that if first when I'm the president, I'll push for the public option. That means people that want to keep the private health care can. And other people that don't can go with the public health care. But people who want Medicare for all, which is mainly the biggest push in the progressive media, they are just uncompromising on their stance that the presidential candidate that they're going to support has to be just Medicare for all, Medicare for all, Medicare for all. But see, so she says it 100 times, 1,000 times, And so then she outlines her plan, and she says, in my third year as president, then I'll go for full-blown Medicare for all. So she gave a full outline of what she intended to do. And they start calling her a liar. After she told them exactly how she was going to do it. And then they start trying to say she's trying to steal Bernie Sanders' Medicare for all plan. Now, I like Bernie Sanders, and I like her too. But what the progressive media doesn't realize is that by weakening her, they weaken him. You got two progressive candidates. It's better than one. But what their argument is, oh, if we support her and him, she'll still vote from him. He might not get the nomination. Operating and predicating their strategy on fear. See, we're afraid, when what their big push really should be is not disparaging her, It's getting 110 million people who don't vote to come out and vote. But they don't want to focus on that. They just want to focus on the easy way. Disparaging honest human beings. Disparaging, disparaging a U.S. senator because, it's always easy to tear down the female. And that's what's interesting about progressive media, is that they use women to tear down the women candidates. So the men are completely exonerated from any type of misogyny or anything in the progressive media because they don't tear down the female candidates, the other women do. But see, one thing you got to understand, that when you get hired at a corporation, they do personality tests on them. Most of the personality tests are based on Jungian personality tests, call you. Some of them are different, but the majority of them are based on that. So you'll have 4 character designations for the personality type. Plus there's all kinds of other little details that can go into a personality type. So they pretty much can tell from the readout of the personality type what that person is going to do in almost any situation. So they know that. So what they do is they just hire people, women, into those situations that will not actually ever support the other female. See? So that way they're completely exonerated. They can never be called sexist. You see, because it's the women tearing down the women candidates. So that just tells you, that just shows you right there, that it's women that stand in other women's way. Because if you remember back in 2016, when Hillary was going to become president, it was the women that came out in the progressive media, the third wave feminists, the feminists, and the radical feminists who were the most against Hillary. All conveniently, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months away from the election, they start just killing her. And they was saying she's a false feminist, she's a globalist, she's a warmonger, she's crooked Hillary, her emails, Progressive media didn't really too much go on the emails, but they went on all the other bullshit. Now Hillary Clinton was the most qualified person in the history of the United States to be president, ever. And who killed her? The women. Matter of fact, on CNN, for like 3 years straight, there's a banner in back of some of the newscasters. And Aaron Burnett, CNN, a CNN anchor, a real, up there anchor, prominent and everything. And she was actually a good reporter. She had this banner in back of her for like 3 straight years that said Benghazi. That's all it said. So now whether that's her choice to do that or not, which probably it isn't, she's being used to make sure that women never get to the point of power that they should be at. We should have been had a female president. How's it even an argument? And so now on progressive media today, they all echo chamber the same story at the same time. If you look at the Young Turks, now I have to give it to Jink. He defended Elizabeth Warren, you see, but his co-host didn't. Co-host is a female. So Jink has the luxury, whether it's a conspiracy or not, which I don't think it is, but if it was, he's got the luxury of just sitting up there and he can defend Elizabeth Warren all day and all night because his co-host, who is female, is going to lose her fucking mind every chance she gets to disparage Elizabeth Warren. So the big point is Elizabeth Warren waffles on Medicare for all. But Elizabeth Warren actually really didn't. Elizabeth Warren attacked Bernie Sanders. Now, we know Bernie didn't say that. We know Bernie didn't say that. He campaigned for Hillary afterwards. We know he didn't say that. No, you don't. You don't know he didn't say that. She claimed she was ethnic. See, we got her. And then the last but not least thing is just petty shit. She claimed that her dad was a janitor. Now, I've heard her say in the past, a long time ago, that her dad, when she grew up, her dad did plumbing and maintenance. Mainly plumbing, she talked about. So, now, Elizabeth Warren is a professor, college professor, and she's taught at many different schools around the United States. Now, and also schools in the Deep South. Now, in the Deep South, if you go into some of these institutions, the janitor and the maintenance person are the exact same person. As a matter of fact, you can see the janitor having a cart pushing it around with a mop and other stuff on there, cleaning products and stuff, but he'll also have tools on the cart that he's pushing, because he's a universal maintenance person. But he can also be called a janitor because he does janitorial stuff. So you see, she's probably taught at least 4 to 5 different universities. I mean, she goes to speak at schools all the time. When you go to the school you went to, I don't know what school you went to, but didn't you see your janitor doing maintenance sometimes? Didn't you even see your janitor maybe doing a little bit of plumbing here and there, you know, installing a toilet or something like that? You see? So really, it's all bullshit. And so they take this same type of motif they use against Hillary Clinton. Her emails. Or she's crooked Hillary, she's a warmonger, she's a warmonger. And they apply the same exact principles over to disparaging Elizabeth Warren. So that leads me to believe that deep down, the women in progressive media have self-hatred for themselves. I mean, Alfred Bernays, who was Sigmund Freud's nephew, and Alfred Bernays is considered, and he is the father of modern advertising. And he said that all advertising, he should know because he's the father of it, is geared towards the female psyche. And he said that to control any society, he doesn't have to do anything to the men. He doesn't have to control them at all. All he has to do is control the minds of the women. And how did it? Now he said that there was 2 cruxes. There was 2 things that you could almost get every woman on for mind control, to lead them into being mind control. And one was their vanity. Their looks and how they have to be right. Because you know, and I know, and everybody else knows, that most women don't really deal real well with rejection or whatever the fuck they're talking about. They don't deal real well with adversity to their opinion. They don't, you know. So that's their vanity, see. So all you have to do is just repetitively give them the idea that whatever they're thinking about is right. They're right. And then the second thing he said, you can always get them on. If you don't get them on that, they said, now I've assessed he's probably right about 85% of women. He said you can get them on penis envy. That they have an envy of the male penis. They envy the male power. And that's probably true because women will gravitate towards the powerful male. And then Carl Jung, probably the world's greatest psychiatrist ever, he said that people will project until they don't. And in Castaneda's book, Tales of Power, Um, his teacher, Don Juan, said that most people are just a useless reflection of themselves. So that's what people do. They project the inner they project their inner self out onto the world. So if I feel this way deep down on the inside, and I'm not in touch with it, I'm gonna, God damn it, how dare you, you're not gonna be better than me. You're not gonna be whole. You're not gonna be dynamic and confident as a woman, and you know, I'm gonna make you feel like the way I feel on the inside, deep down. Now I may present this incredible, awesome image on the outside, but really you are what you are on the inside. See, and that's what you are. So, so deep down, these women in progressive media, they have deep down inner turmoil and self-esteem issues. That's all I can come up with, because they all echo chamber the same shit at the same time. I mean, I even saw Abby Martin. I don't like Abby Martin, but I even saw Abby Martin right when the echo chamber came out for Elizabeth Warren's A Liar. I heard her say that Michael Moore did a documentary called Capitalism, a Love Story, back in 2010, where he exposed Elizabeth Warren as the liar that she is. Now, I remember seeing that documentary. Now, I don't recall that part. So I went back and watched the documentary all the way through. And when they got to the part where he interviewed Elizabeth Warren in the documentary, he didn't call her out on any lie whatsoever. Now, he did just recently on his MK Flint, which is Michael Moore Flint podcast. He just did this was like a couple weeks ago though. He just did a podcast talking about the downfall, the terrible downfall or something of Elizabeth Warren or whatever. And then he goes on to all those weak ass talking points too, about how, you know, I mean, he really didn't come to any goddamn bona fide solid conclusions about her being fucked up. He just kind of echo chambered what the talking points in the progressive media are about her. And now, in contrast, the progressive media all want Bernie Sanders to be president. Now, you just think about that. Will Bernie Sanders be a good president? I think so. Do I like him to be the president? Absolutely. But there's other things to consider. And the biggest thing to consider is that Bernie Sanders is 80 years old with a bad heart. He just had a heart attack about 6, 7, 8 months ago. And I'm not saying that should exclude him from being a president or whatever. I'm just saying from a strategic standpoint. Now, you already saw how Trump and them tried to kill Hillary with some kind of trauma or stress or whatever during the campaign cycle in 2016 when she fainted in the park. Remember? Now, you know, do I know Trump did that? No, I don't. Do I think, you know, they might have shot a pulse weapon, an invisible pulse weapon at her or something? Somehow dehydrated her or something? Or, I mean, fuck yeah. I remember Michael Jordan said that one basketball game that he played in Utah, when he did that crossover shot and he had the flu the whole game, and they won that game when he shot that shot against when Brian Russell was guarding. He said he was sick. He said he figured out what really happened, how he got sick, and he traced it all the way back to the night before. He bought a pizza, had delivered to his hotel room, and that's actually what made him sick. See, And he said he also figured it out that it wasn't the fact that, you know, it just was a bad pizza. He's like that pizza was poison. See, so you know, and you remember Trump's talking point about all other candidates was always their health, low energy jab. You know, this person thinks slow. This person's not quick-witted. This person has low energy. See, he was attacking everybody's health. Then all of a sudden, something happens to Hillary. See what I'm saying? What goes right along with the inductive logic there. So, progressive media, instead of having two candidates and encouraging the 110 million people that don't vote, that can vote in America, to get out and vote, they instead take the easy route and just disparage a very solid human being in Elizabeth Warren and just make a fiasco out of this shit. And once again, the men in the progressive media, like for instance, like Cal Kalinske of Secular Talk. I love Cal Kalinske, but there's really no but with him because he doesn't do that shit. He doesn't sit up there and just pound on Warren and just pound on her and pound on her and pound on her. Who does that? The women in the progressive media do. The girl from Abby Martin does it. The girl from Rolling Stone, Katie, what's that girl's name? Katie, hold on. Katie out, and that's a smart girl. But for some reason, all the women in the progressive media get together and just beat this shit out to other women. Now, aren't the women supposed to be in the yah-yah sisterhood? But instead, what they do is they ingratiate themselves to the patriarchy. Is it because they just really want the power? Could that be it? And Carl Jung, like I said, the greatest psychiatrist ever, he said that one of the really terrible concepts, a really terrible activity that we have as human beings, he said that people project until they don't, and a part of that projection is that we tend to identify with the object of our hatred, especially women. And so if a woman's a feminist and she hates the patriarchy, you know, which pretty much goes right along with she, you know, kind of hates almost everything men do. They're manly men, you know what I mean? They're not all like that, but most of them are. Then she'll identify with what she actually hates. So she'll try to ingratiate herself to the aggressor, which is the male, see? By trying to show, oh, see, I have an invisible dick too. You know. Well, see, I'm cool, see? I'm cool, guys, see? You know. And so, you know, I can get along. Yeah. And so, now you saw, now this, the biggest progressive media outlet is the Young Turks. Now, it doesn't matter what the fuck anybody's got to say. So you hear Cenk will get up, Cenk Uygur, who was the Young Turk dude, he'll get up there and he'll say, you know, Well, Young Turks just means a person rebelling against the system, the current system, you know. But, you know, that's an easy way to cognitively arrange that through repetition and to form an explanation around that. But the origins, the actual origins of the term Young Turks is rooted in the Illuminati. Okay, so you've got this guy from 1666 who was Turkish. He was named Sabatazevi, and he claimed to be the Jewish Messiah in 1666. And his teachings, he had over 1 million followers, so there was only a couple million Jews at that time. He had half of them following. And his philosophy was redemption through sin. So instead of doing everything right, what you do is to bring in the advent of change, you do everything wrong. So you have an inverted morality. And so he was eventually accosted by the Sultan in Turkey. And the motherfucker told him, like, look, you don't convert to Islam, or else I'm going to kill you. So Sabatazevi converted to Islam. And then later on down the road, there was a group formed called the Donma, D-O-N-M-E-H, in Turkey. And the term Donma literally interprets as, the way they apply it to transsexuals, but the actual most generic explanation is one who pretends to be what they are not. So the leader of the Donma was named Ataturk. And this group, and it's unmistakable, and there's no doubt about it, were responsible for the Armenian genocide. You see. So, you think about this. You have the most successful online news service in the world, right? And you have as your front person, first of all, you're the front person, you're Turkish, because Jink's Turkish. But you have as your front person an Armenian. Now, the Young Turks are responsible for the Armenian genocide. But you have as your front person an Armenian. That it works perfectly. You're completely exonerated if you've got an upstanding, college-educated, cut-corner, hard-working, genius-level mentality female as your front person for the Young Turks, then it completely works. It's the perfect, you have the perfect patsy working for you. Perfect. It doesn't get any better. So this group that I named, that I claimed is fronted for me by an Armenian. Well, chalk that up as a victory. You see. So, now also, there was this one time when they had, like, Alex Jones and Roger Stone both stormed the Young Turk studios. It was some years back. And, you know, and so, you know, you see Alex Jones and Roger Stone arguing with Jink of the Young Turks. Now, to me, it looked completely staged. Because Jink's always talking about how, you know, he's somewhat of a tough guy and he likes to fight and blah, 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 blah. So he's got these crazy-ass motherfucking invaders in his studio. What does he do? He just sits there in a chair and just kind of argues with them, like, you know, oh, you stop it, Roger Stone, you know, whatever, Alex Jones, you're terrible, you know. Well, he should have got up and put the motherfuckers out. But, nah, he didn't do that. See? So, what it looked like to me was that was a staged event. And then what happens down the road later on? They wind up getting Alex Jones banned from YouTube and Facebook. But that's not actually so bad of a thing, because Alex Jones is already filthy rich. He's got about like 5 to 8 million to 10 million followers that follow him religiously. And so if he gets kicked off of the mainstream, he now has all those 5 to 8 to 10 million people isolated on his own website. Just like cult members. Just believe in anything he says. Like in the last couple of days, Alex Jones has claimed that somehow Hillary started the coronavirus in China, or had something to do with it. And the Department of Defense emailed him and told him that the silver product, this colloidal silver product that he sells on his website, will cure the coronavirus. This is the kind of shit that Alex Jones tells his followers, and they actually believe the shit. So, in my opinion, it's just my opinion, and I think I'm correct, I think they work for Alex Jones. I think, because Alex Jones is fucking rich. Okay. Now, I remember Jink talking about the Young Turks got a $20 million investment from somebody. You know, I mean, I don't know, I'm only speculating. Could that have been arranged by Alex Jones? You know, if you're down on the program, you know what I mean? Not saying it's true, but truth is always stranger than fiction. So, in my opinion, the progressive media probably works for Alex Jones, or works for the people that Alex Jones works for. There's a thing called controlled opposition. Also, we've learned it over years in conspiracy circles. You know, it's called the Hegelian dialectic. So that's two seemingly opposing views. You control both sides. You adopt both sides of the argument. So you adopt the far right side, you know, the psycho off the fucking spectrum of acceptable exchange of ideas that even make any sense. You know, that's your far right. And then you've got the left, because there really is no left. Everything's kind of centered in the political system. So you establish the far left with these progressive talking points. In other words, you take common sense, democratic socialist ideas, which is, you know, would be like Medicare for all, free college for students, forgiving student loan debt. You know, then you've got a bevy of other, you know, pretty socially common sense topics that you would be going over. You know, the environment. You know, that's for everybody. You know, living wage. You know, that's what's that? You know, raise the minimum wage. You know what I mean? So people can fucking live. You know what I mean? Just common sense shit. So they'd take those and move them far left and call them progressive. When those aren't anywhere off the spectrum of, that's all right in the center and shit. You know, all of it. And so, and it's been being talked about for a while. So they adopt these talking points as progressive to make them their own topics. You know, these are progressive talking points, but people have been talking about this shit for years and it ain't progressive. You know, so they now they have an established left, because there was no left. Everything's in the center. They had this established right, way far off the spectrum right, and so you control both sides of the argument, so you can control the outcome. Now, what was the actual outcome that happened? What was the actual outcome that happened? Well, we got Donald Trump as president. What's the actual outcome? Just absolutely unbelievable. That's what we wound up with. The worst president in the history of the United States. See? So, and basically, they want this one candidate only, who's 80 years old, with a bad heart, to be the poster child for them. I just think about that. They don't want Elizabeth Warren in the mix. They don't want Tulsi Gabbard in the mix. They don't want, they give a little decent talking about Andrew Yang here and there. They're not real hard on Pete Buttigieg. They're a little bit hard on him. They kind of call him out as a corporatist. Stuff like that. But only Bernie Sanders can deliver. Only Bernie Sanders can be, when the way the political system works is, as long as you don't have a dictator like Trump in the White House, you can apply pressure to the situation if you can get people involved and pay attention and be in an organized, concerted way to apply pressure to the political system. You can affect change that way. But they want you to think, oh, all you got to do is just vote Bernie Sanders. What's Bernie Sanders going to do? Walk in your house, kick open the door, sit down on your couch, pop his feet up on your coffee table, and tell you to fix him a cup of coffee and tell your wife to give him a blowjob? He ain't going to do that shit either. Okay. So, you see, that's a game you got to play in Washington, and so, Elizabeth Warren plays the game. I'm not saying Bernie Sanders is a bad person or nothing like that. Don't get me wrong. I think that, I would love to see him be president. The point I'm making is why do you have to sacrifice Elizabeth Warren to get this 180-year-old motherfucker into the presidency if it's going to happen? You see, because if he does get the nomination and then he wants to use her as vice president for his running mate, well, you just totally killed her. So now you just weaken him. If she got the nomination and she wants him to run as her president or as her vice president, well, now you just killed her. So it still weakens her, and it weakens him, and it weakens what it is that he wants to get accomplished. Because now, he's got a president, because that could at least, flip the Senate or flip the House a little bit and just make her a lame duck. Or him too. You see, they already got the House. What they want to do is get the House and the Senate and the presidency. You see. So, the stuff the progressive media does makes no sense to me. It just doesn't make any sense. It only makes sense by the process of elimination if they actually work for, something that has its own agenda. What could that agenda be? You know what I mean? Like I said, we wound up with Donald Trump because they disparaged Hillary so much. Now, like I said, the Sabbatarians of the ones who are responsible for the Armenian genocide, their philosophy was redemption through sin. Inverted morality. You invert everything. You flip it all upside down like an inverted cross. Or you flip everything upside down like an inverted pentagram. It's all inverted. Inverted logic. Inverted everything. So, I personally think I'm right. And, one last thing. The Illuminati, the real Illuminati, really comes from Turkey. That's where it comes from. The Ottoman Brotherhood. So back in 1100 or so, there was this Ibn al-Hassan, and he was called the Old Man of the Mountain at the fortress of Alamut in Turkey. And this is really the first intelligence network that performed assassinations that we know about in the world. It's called the Ottoman Brotherhood, and they had these warriors called these assassins called the Hashishin, or the Order of the Assassins. And what they would do is they get these young dudes and they take them inside this enclosure up in the mountain, and they would get them high on hashish. And then they would take them out in this courtyard and be all these beautiful women. And if you ever seen Turkish women, the beautiful ones, your mouth will drop to the fucking floor. They're so beautiful. That shit's insane how beautiful they are. I mean, you just be like, you know? I mean, you'd be mesmerized. Even if you wasn't high on hashish. So they convinced those young dudes that this is paradise. This is heaven. If you go out and perform this assassination, you get to go to heaven. See? Right here on earth. You get to go to heaven. So they would go out, and that was the first system of terror. That was the first really terror network in the world that we know about. And the Illuminati come out of that. They come out of the Sabbateans. So later on, coming forward, the Sabbateans come out of that. And then the Illuminati come out of the Sabbateans. The Bavarian Illuminati of Adam Weishaupt and the Illuminati that founded America, they come directly out of the Sabbateans. See? So if you have a goal that nobody knows about, if that goal is secret, and America was founded by a secret society. Remember, John Kennedy got killed trying to reveal it, talking about we are opposed to secrets in an open society, blah, 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 then he got killed. See? Because he's going to expose the fact that America is basically founded by a secret society, and that they're still behind the scenes running the show. So, if you have an agenda, if you have a goal already, and nobody knows what that goal really is, only you know, then things that don't seem logical, or even that seem logical, are serving your agenda if you're in control. See? And pretty much, people have figured it out that the goal of the Illuminati is to create a world completely devoid of love and understanding. And we see that embodied in Donald Trump. So, I think I'm correct. I think the progressive media basically works for their side. And I think the leaders of it know it. Absolutely know it. Because you can control people's intake of information, then you basically can control what they think. Pretty much. If you control the information that they get to decide, and they decide based upon whatever they get from you, then you're basically controlling their mind. So, that's interesting, isn't it? You know what's interesting too about the Young Turks is that now you couldn't have any progressive movement at all whatsoever without Noam Chomsky, but they've never had him on there. Why would you not? Why not? Why would you never have him on there? Now I've seen Nando Vila and maybe a couple of other the commentators might bring up Chomsky, but they'll change the subject real quick, like somebody else will. Why is that? Makes no sense to me. So,